Today, I'm 45 minutes east of Melbourne at Montague to catch up with Mr. Apple himself, Ray Montague. What he doesn't know about apples isn't worth knowing, so let's go catch up with him and learn all about apples. Now, Ray, these apple trees look beautiful. I can see some little baby apples on there. What variety are they and how long till I can eat them?
Look, these are pink lady apples.
Yep.
These trees are about 20 to 25 years old. And as you can see here now, like, there's far too many apples on this limb.
Yep.
You go 8 or 10. Now, we're probably only going to leave that back to about 1, maybe 2 apples.
Oh, right.
So the ultimate aim is to actually have a single piece of fruit by itself.
Yep.
So it gets good colour and it gets good size. And the more even and balanced the tree you get,
Yep.
the better eating quality you get. You know, good pressures.
Yep.
So it never goes soft.
Do you have a favourite variety of apple, Ray? Is there one that you love more than any other?
Look, you have different times of the year. So for early in the season, I love the Smitten because it's hard and crisp and marvellous flavour, never lets you down. It's just incredible. So then you go through the year, you can have different varieties, but the apples early on is certainly Smitten is my favourite. And then you might go to apple varieties like Pink Lady, Jazz and Envy. We do have another one coming along called Sweet Tango, which will actually be a little bit earlier than Smitten, and that'll be probably 2 years away.
So, Ray, you're the second generation grower here and your son's taken over. He's the third. Tell us a little bit about how the family's involved in the business.
Yeah, look, my father started in 1948, grew his first apple trees in 1950. Then myself and my 2 other brothers, who have both passed away, they ran it through to just 2 years ago. And now my son Scott is managing director of the business. My son Tim is general manager of the orchards, and my nephew Hamish runs Queensland. They have a great passion for our business and they love the fruit game.
Well, Ray, I love what you and the Montagues are doing for food in Australia. It's very exciting. Can we go have a bit of a look around?
Yep. Fantastic.
And Ray, we're going to cook a classic apple dish. How do you feel about stewed apples?
That's fantastic. I've been doing a lot of cooking on Sundays and I've been making a few mistakes, so I'm keen to watch.
I'm going to show you what I do. Hopefully I do it right because you grow the amazing apples, so I want to stew them. We're going to use our Smitten apples.
Yep.
I love them. I think they're just one of the best apples I've had. Crispy, crunchy, really nice sweetness. I like them fresh, but I also like them cooked down a little bit so that sweetness transfers and becomes more of a cooked sweetness. So what we're going to do, we're going to set up a bit of a production line.
Yep.
Ray's going to peel, I'm going to chop, and we're going to start stewing our apples. I'm also going to put our pan on, start getting that hot. Ray, you've got to stem out, you've got a peeler there. I reckon we'll do 4 apples for this recipe. You can always do more or less if you're doing it for 2 people or 6 people, or if you want to keep your stewed apples in the fridge for a couple of days, you can make a big batch. If you've got as many apples as Ray, you might need a few people peeling, but
I better start now then.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll peel them. Now, you make stewed apples at home. What's your recipe? You've got to tell us.
Oh, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Jazz apple
Yep.
is what I've been using, and I'll use some Granny Smiths this Sunday actually. And then very little sugar, because my mother never used to use much sugar, but maybe a pinch if I need it.
Yep.
And just a touch of water on the bottom and just stew them up. It's as simple as that.
All right, I'm a bit different. I'm doing Smitten apples. We're going to add a fair bit of sugar. But I've got a couple of tricks that I reckon you might like. I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar into it, which is going to add that really nice tartness, and then some dried fruit as well to lift it. And one of my favourite things to go with apple is actually rosemary. Have you had that combination before?
No.
I like apple pie with rosemary, apple tarte tatin with rosemary is like one of my favourite combinations. So I'm going to start picking this rosemary because we're going to chuck it in with the stewing. And rosemary's got that really nice sort of fragrant herb note, which just matches up with the beautiful sweetness of the apple so well. So if you ever want a good combination of a herb with a fruit, you can't go past, for me, apple and rosemary. It's really one of the great ones. You know who taught me that? Maggie Beard. She's one of my heroes, and she showed me that once. So I've kept that one. Great books, great cook. So I reckon about 4 sprigs of rosemary will be enough. I'm just going to run the knife through them twice, maybe 3 times. Just discipline the sprigs. And then take off the apple, just leaving the core. And I love cooking in the orchard kitchen because you just put the core down there for the bugs. And then into our pot, Little sizzle. I'll chuck a little dash of water in to help them stew rather than fry too much. And I like to cube my apples up to about that size, so they'll cook down a little bit. So we don't want it to be too small. I like a bit of texture. What size do you go?
Bit smaller.
Bit smaller?
But that's because I don't know.
Well, no, there's no right or wrong. Whatever works, but I like a little bit of texture so that when we cook these, they will soften and they'll stew, but they won't completely disappear or be, you know, one smooth mixture. I want a little bit of texture still. One of the things I love about cooking fruit is as soon as it hits that heat and that pan, you can smell that sweetness.
Marvellous.
And these apples are so juicy and so perfect that they're going to go well. I think for me, stewing apples and stewing any fruit, it's a kind of recipe and a cooking technique you do when you've got lots of something, like a glut of something. So, you know, the perfect time to stew apples will be when they're in season. So if you're, you know, got too many apples, the way to preserve is to stew them down in a little bit of sugar so they last for a long time. So I think, you know, that's one of the joys of a beautiful apple season. And the good thing about your apples is you've got apples from March all the way through October that are always in season and nice and fresh.
Well, basically all year round, 12 months.
Yep.
Because then you're starting the next year as well.
So you're
still going with old season Pink Lady, for instance, when you're picking Gala and of course Smitten.
Yeah. So there's always an apple that's perfect to stew.
Yep.
I love that. Now,
it's such a great product, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, just.
Well, they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, makes you sleep well at night.
I reckon one Ray's apple a day keeps you happy. That one.
No, I'll tell you what, every time I sell another apple, I'm happy.
Well, when I get to cook them, I'm happy. So now, Ray, sugar. Now you don't use a lot. I use a fair bit. Half a cup.
Oh.
So caster. Is that all right?
Caster, yeah.
So half a cup of caster sugar. I use the caster sugar because it doesn't have as much flavour as the brown sugar. It's not as much caramelly flavour. And so it just really makes the apple sing. And I like it because it's nice and fine, so it helps melt into that sort of stewed fruit. And then we can go in with our rosemary and sprinkle that in.
Apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar. We'll go a splash of that in here as well. It's just going to give it a nice little bit of tartness and help balance out some of the sweetness. I like to, if ever I go too sweet on something, I add a little bit of acidity to help balance it out.
As you said, it's great to leave some in the fridge for your apple and pork.
Go well with apple and pork. Goes perfectly with some ice cream if you want a little late night snack. We're going to do it with yoghurt today because I think it's a nice healthy combination, and I think really sweet creamy yoghurt goes so well with this sort of sweet, slightly tart stewed fruit. And now, one of my other little tricks, I'm going to add some dried fruit in here as well. So I've got some raisins here and also some sliced dried apricots. These are going to go in at this stage with a little bit more of that water, and this is going to help them plump up and give some of their flavour into that stewed fruit as well. Now,
so does the water help your stewing?
The water helps with its stewing, yeah. So it sort of almost simmers it and boils it and helps break down those apples. Because what we want is the apples fully cooked through and starting to soften and give out lots of their sweetness and their juice. And that water just helps it happen a little bit quicker. So Ray, I'm going to just leave these now to simmer and bubble away, probably about 15, 20 minutes until they're softened, they've cooked down, but they still have a little bit of texture. Then we're going to come back. I'm going to show you how to make a really fast nut crumble to go on top, and we'll be eating stewed apples with yoghurt in no time. So Ray, we've stewed our apples for about 20 minutes. They're softening. They're about 5 minutes away from being ready, so they're
smell great.
Starting to cook down. They just need a little bit more. While that happens, we're going to make a really quick caramel with some nuts. So I've got a pan here on the heat, and it's starting to smoke, so we know it's hot enough. Going to add in some brown sugar, just to start that melting. And to go with it, just going to add in some nuts as well. So almonds and pistachios. And I'm just going to just mix these through the pan really quickly. You can see that caramel's happening already. We're not even going to put that back onto the flame because it's so hot. So all we're going to do is just mix this around, just like so. And then if you pull out underneath that board, I've got a little bit of baking paper. And chuck that on the board here. So just like that, yep. And we're just going to slide this onto there, just to let it cool down and to set. And that's as easy as to make a really quick little nut caramel, a little nut praline, which is going to go perfectly underneath our apples. And the apples are looking really good. They're cooking down. You can see there the dried fruits have cooked down as well and plumped up a little bit, so it's looking really nice. I'm gonna serve this with some yogurt. If you had, you know, the grandkids over, ice cream would be good as well. I'm sure that'd impress them. And just sort of a nice little pile there. And what I love about this is you get the hot fruit and the cold yogurt, and it kind of like plays off each other. It's a hot, cold little texture. So I'm gonna go in with some stewed fruit next to it. You want to pile about the same size of each. Turn that one off now. And then all I do is just grab a spoon and we just break this up a little bit and really quickly chop our praline. And you get a really nice contrast of the white and the green with the two different seeds, the almonds and the pistachios. You can see that nice little contrast. Then I just put that on top of our stewed fruits for some texture. And there we have it, stewed apple with those beautiful Smitten apples that grew right here. A little bit of yogurt and that lovely crispy caramelised praline on top. What do you reckon?
Just fantastic. You've killed them again.